What are you waiting for? A sign? Permission? A courage that never comes? Maybe you've told yourself, it's not time yet. When I'm more ready, then I will. But let me tell you a secret. Waiting is a thief disguised as prudence. It steals years, opportunities, and the spark in your eyes. And the more you wait, the more the world moves on. Quiet, ruthless, indifferent. Have you noticed how time can be a poison when misused? How it deceives by pretending to heal, when in truth it only drags on? Life doesn't ring a bell before it restarts. It simply moves on, and you either walk with it or get lost trying to understand what has already passed. Today is not about big decisions. It's about stopping the escape. It's about beginning even with fear, even without all the answers. Because it's not the answer that brings clarity. It's the step. It's the movement. So, if this message has reached you, maybe it's time to stop waiting and start moving with purpose. Have you ever felt more tired from waiting than from taking action? Waiting carries an invisible weight, a silent exhaustion that doesn't come from the body, but from the soul. It's not doing that drains you, it's postponing. It's pushing to tomorrow what your heart already knows needs to happen today. How many nights have you gone to sleep with the same thought spinning in your mind? Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll talk to her. Tomorrow I'll change this. And tomorrow came. But it brought the same fear, the same doubt, the same pretty lying argument. It's still not the right time. Let me tell you something no one says. Waiting too long wears you down more than failing by trying. Failure, when it comes from action, teaches. It shapes, awakens, confronts. Failure is a harsh teacher, but a fair one. Waiting, when born of insecurity, paralyzes. It silences your inner voice, suffocates your initiative, and gradually turns you into a statue. Beautiful on the outside, frozen on the inside. And here's the truth. Most people are waiting to feel ready to act. But readiness is not an emotion. It's a decision. You decide that you are already enough. You decide you're no longer hiding behind the excuse of not knowing the next step. And speaking of the next step, do you know what stops most people from taking the first one? It's not fear of failure. It's fear of exposure. Fear of being seen trying. Fear of showing the process. Fear that others will see you still learning. But tell me, who said you need to arrive perfect? The real journey is made of crooked steps, stumbles, pauses. It's made of doubts, but also intentions. The intention to grow, to learn, to live with truth. The opposite of that is emptiness. And the emptiness of inertia hurts. It hurts so much that you start to numb yourself with distractions, with food, with social media, with overworking, with elaborate excuses. But deep down, you know your life is asking for movement, not for speed, but for true inner displacement. So, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for someone to tell you it's enough? Are you waiting for your courage to finally arrive, neatly wrapped, with no fear, no doubt? That's never going to happen. Because courage doesn't arrive. Courage is built, brick by brick, with every choice you make between comfort and purpose. And let me tell you something else. There is a kind of suffering that only ends when you act. It's no use analyzing, meditating, rationalizing. That suffering only ends when you stand up, face the mirror, and say, enough. I'm not wasting another day hiding from what matters. And that step doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be honest. Have you noticed how life doesn't ring a bell before it changes? It doesn't warn you when something is ending. It doesn't send you a message saying, get ready, your current chapter ends tomorrow. It simply moves on, unbothered, and you either move with it or you get stuck trying to understand what's already gone. Some people are still reliving a disappointment from 5 years ago as if it happened yesterday. Some are still waiting for a reconciliation that will never come. Some look ahead, but lives staring into the rearview mirror. But what if I told you that life has already given you permission to move on? You're just still asking for authorization from a past that won't return. People want clear, fresh starts, magical moments, special dates, New Year's Eve, birthdays, the perfect Monday. But the real beginning has no glamour. It starts on an ordinary Tuesday after a silent cry in the bathroom. It begins in a moment of exhaustion when you realize you can't go on like this anymore. Life doesn't pause to wait for you to digest the pain. It moves. And you either move with it, or you'll spend the rest of your life trying to find meaning in what's already been lost. Do you know why? Because time is not medicine. Time is just space. Time doesn't heal. You do with what you choose to do with that time. How many people do you know who carry decades of pain, and say time didn't heal. It's not that time doesn't work. It's that the person stayed in the same place mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Healing isn't waiting for it to pass. Healing is acting even while it hurts. It's continuing with a patched up heart. It's walking, even limping. And that demands more than strength. It demands humility. The humility to accept that some new beginnings are messy, uncertain, lonely, but they are real. And it's in the real that transformation begins. You don't need to know the final destination. You just need to say to yourself, I will no longer let life pass me by. I will pass through life. Today can be that day. And if it's not today, at least stop postponing what's already begging inside you to be born. Because life won't wait for you to decide. It has already begun. Everyone wants to find a purpose. But almost no one is willing to walk the path it demands. Do you know why? Because that path doesn't start with a beautiful map. It starts with an internal confrontation. Purpose doesn't arise when everything is calm. It is born when something inside you screams, I can't live like this anymore. It's in that scream that clarity is born. Not the peaceful clarity of someone who already knows what to do, but the raw clarity of someone who recognizes what can no longer be ignored. And then comes the decisive moment, to face it or to flee. Most flee. They hide in comfort, in routine, in denial. They pray for life to return to normal, even knowing that normal no longer makes sense. But some, a few, choose to confront. And it's in that confrontation that purpose begins to take shape. Confronting your beliefs, confronting your lies, confronting that story you've been telling yourself for years to justify your paralysis. Have you ever told yourself any of these? That's just how I am. I wasn't born for this. I'm too old for that now. If it was meant to be, it would have happened by now. These phrases are invisible shackles. And as long as you keep feeding them, you'll live in an emotional prison where everything is predictable, but nothing is alive. Purpose, on the contrary, is wild. It drags you out of your comfort zone. It puts you face to face with a mirror. It doesn't ask permission, it invades. And do you know what the real sign is that you're close to something true? It's discomfort. The good kind of anxiety, the kind of fear that doesn't paralyze but pushes, the butterflies in your stomach that say, it's risky, but it's real. The biggest mistake people make is believing that purpose is a destination. It's not. Purpose is a posture. It's an inner stance that makes you wake up every day and say, I no longer live by accident. And do you know what happens when you start living like that? Old pains lose power, fears shrink, other people's opinions fade. Because finally, you are aligned with something greater than your ego. And that is freedom. So, if you're in a moment of deep discomfort, maybe you're closer to your purpose than you think. Don't run from the confrontation. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. We live in a time where movement has become synonymous with rushing. And if you're not running, it feels like you're falling behind, unproductive, disconnected from high performance. But let me tell you something no one says. Not all movement is progress. There are people who run all day without leaving the spot. They fill their schedules, stack up tasks, pretend to be in flow, but inside they're lost. Do you know why? Because running without intention is just noise. It's like spinning on a carousel. There's movement, there's speed, but there's no direction. Moving with intention is completely different. It's quieter, more centered, more selective. It's looking at your day and asking, among all these demands, what truly deserves my step today? And maybe that's one of the most powerful questions you can ask. Where is it worth stepping? Because the ground you step on becomes the road you walk. And if you keep stepping on paths that don't belong to you, you'll end up far from yourself. Worse than walking slowly is walking fast in the wrong direction. So breathe, pause for a moment, and observe. Is your urgency taking you where you want to go, or is it just distracting you from the pain you're avoiding? There are people who fill their lives with commitments to avoid facing the emptiness they feel. They work nonstop so they don't have to deal with guilt, frustration, or the ghosts of the soul. But staying busy is still running away. Moving with intention is the opposite. It's a daily exercise in awareness, a gesture of self-respect. It's you saying, today I don't want to do everything, I want to do what matters. And what matters is almost always invisible to others. It's that hard step toward a conversation you've been avoiding. It's that decision you've been postponing because you know it will hurt. It's that choice that isn't popular, but is loyal to what you believe. That is intention. That is presence. And do you know what's most beautiful? When you start walking like that, the world no longer feels like a chaotic place. It's still noisy, yes, but you're no longer lost in it. Because now, you choose where to step. Everyone wants clarity. That feeling of knowing exactly what to do, how to do it, and why. We want signs, guarantees, clear instructions from the universe. But the truth, harsh and liberating, is this. Clarity doesn't come before movement, it comes during. You don't discover the right direction by standing still. You discover it by walking, by trying, by failing, by adjusting, by feeling. The problem is that we were trained to wait to understand everything before acting. We want the full picture before the first step. But what if the map only appears after you start moving? What if the answer you're waiting for only shows up when you open the door you're afraid to walk through? Think about it. How many times in your life did you have certainty before starting something? Rarely. Most important decisions came with doubts, with a pit in your stomach, with fear of what might happen. But you went anyway. And once you did, the pieces started falling into place. That's the cycle. You act, life responds. You take the step, the path reveals itself. But if you keep waiting for clarity to move, you'll stay stuck. And standing still, the mind creates monsters. It amplifies risks. It sabotages your vital impulse. It's like waiting for the fog to clear before leaving the house. The fog doesn't clear, you learn to walk in it. And here's something even deeper. The step you avoid taking doesn't just hold you back externally, it blocks you internally. It erodes your confidence. It convinces you that you need one more course, one more video, one more piece of advice. But what you need is one more step, that's it. One honest step, one possible step, one step now. And it doesn't have to be huge. Sometimes the next step is making that call, booking that therapy, cleaning that room, writing that letter. What matters is that it's yours. Because true clarity isn't knowing everything. It's feeling peace with the little you do know and still moving forward. The mind asks for certainty, but the soul asks for movement. So next time you feel confused, ask, what's the next step I can take, even without all the answers? And take that step, even with fear, even with doubt. Because what you're looking for isn't in the next answer. It's in the next step. There's a silent trap that imprisons thousands of people every day. It has a noble appearance, it seems sensible, and that's why almost no one notices the poison it carries. It's the idea that you need to wait for perfect courage. Have you ever told yourself this? I just need to feel more prepared. When I feel stronger, I'll face it. As soon as I feel more confident, I'll start. These phrases sound like prudence, but in truth, they're hope disguised as paralysis. You keep feeding stagnation with promises that are never fulfilled. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and courage never comes. Do you know why? Because courage doesn't strike like a lightning bolt. It doesn't descend from the heavens as a mystical inspiration. Courage is built. And more than that, courage is activated. It awakens when you choose to move even with fear. It's not the absence of fear, it's the decision despite fear. The greatest moments of your life were never accompanied by absolute certainty. They were built in discomfort, in vulnerability, in doubt. But even so, you went. And maybe you don't even realize it, but you've already been courageous so many times before. When you left a toxic relationship, when you said no while trembling, when you started over with a broken heart, when you asked for help. Courage isn't grand, it's every day, quiet, sometimes silent. It's in that moment when you say, enough. In that instant when you choose truth, even knowing it will hurt. And especially in that second when you act without knowing what comes next. Waiting for perfect courage is like waiting for the sea to be calm before learning to swim. You learn in the current. You grow while trembling. You become strong while facing. So, if you're waiting for a better version of yourself to begin, let me tell you with kindness, but firmly, that version is only born after you begin. The courage you seek is on the other side of the choice you make today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Have you noticed how the world is getting noisier? Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to tell you what to do, where to go, how to think, what to feel. Thousands of voices, mentors, gurus, experts, friends, algorithms. And in the midst of so much noise, you try to find direction. But the right direction, contrary to what you've been led to believe, doesn't shout. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't invade. It whispers. And that whisper can only be heard in the silence of disciplined action. It's not in a moment of instant enlightenment that you discover your path. It's on that day when you wake up and choose to do what needs to be done, even without motivation. It's in that repeated effort no one sees, in that solitary training, in that difficult conversation, in that late-night reading. It's in the habit. It's in the repetition with meaning. Direction reveals itself to those who honor the process. But listen, discipline is not rigidity. Discipline is committed love. It's you saying to yourself, I care so much about what I'm building that I will stay even when the excitement fades. And it will fade. Excitement is fleeting. But that's where truth begins. Most people give up because they expect to feel like it every day. They expect to feel inspired, energized, ready. But real life doesn't work that way. In real life, those who go far aren't the ones who feel the most. They're the ones who commit the most. Because the whisper of the right direction can only be heard when you're in motion, with attention, with presence. And that's why so many people feel lost. They're looking for the answer in the shout when they should be listening to the silence of their own effort. Do you want direction? Then work with intention. Do you want clarity? Then stay, even when it feels boring. Do you want to hear your inner voice? Then stop distracting yourself with 1,000 external voices. The right direction is not a fixed destination. It's a field of alignment that reveals itself as you walk with consistency. And when it speaks, you'll know. Not because everything gets easier, but because, even when it's hard, it makes sense. Pause for a moment and think about your name. The name you've carried for decades. What does it represent? To the world, maybe just one more among many. But to you, that name is a story. It's identity. It's a journey. And more than that, it's a field in constant rewriting. Because with every step you take, you're not only changing your future, you're also redefining your past. The truth is, a single honest step has the power to change the entire course of your story. And it doesn't need to be an epic leap, it just needs to be real. It just needs to come from a sincere place, from your essence, not your fear. It just needs to carry intention, not perfection. Do you know why? Because your transformation won't come from a miraculous day. It will come from small acts of accumulated courage. Every time you speak the truth you've always avoided. Every time you take responsibility you used to push away. Every time you choose what's right, not what's comfortable. You are rewriting the meaning of your name. And that doesn't go unnoticed, even if no one sees. Your soul sees. The universe responds. And slowly you become someone you respect, someone who looks in the mirror and feels, I'm coming home. You don't need to reinvent yourself overnight, but you do need to stop abandoning yourself. You need to stop repeating the old story that you can't, don't know how, or weren't born for this. Because as long as that narrative remains in charge, your identity will continue to be a repetition of the past, not a projection of your potential. And the inconvenient yet liberating truth is this. You're not stuck in who you were. You're stuck in what you keep choosing. But one different step is enough for your name to begin carrying a new meaning. You can be remembered for the pain you carried, or for the strength with which you chose to carry it, for the fear that silenced you, or for the courage that made you speak, for the stagnation, or for the reinvention. You decide. And every honest step, even timid, even uncertain, is a new brick in the construction of your true story. So instead of waiting for the grand turning point, choose the small gesture that honors who you want to become. Transformation begins with integrity, and integrity begins with a single real step. There's a question that destroys more lives than any past trauma or external criticism. Do I have the strength for this? This question sounds legitimate, almost sensible, but most of the time it hides something deeper. The fear of committing to what truly matters. And let me tell you a hard yet essential truth. It's not about having strength. It's about stopping the waste of your life by hiding. The strength you think you need, it doesn't come before movement. It's activated when you face the truth. As long as you keep avoiding what your soul already knows is necessary, all your power will remain asleep. Have you noticed how exhausting it is to run away? Running from conversations, running from decisions, running from change, running from yourself, Running is exhausting because it requires constant vigilance. You live trying to control narratives, please others, maintain the facade that everything's fine. But deep down, you know there's a something you've been putting off. You know there's a personal mission that's being silenced. You know there are parts of yourself waiting to be rescued. And the more you ignore that, the more life loses color, the more days feel the same, the deeper the exhaustion becomes an existential kind. And you start calling it routine. But it's not routine. It's self-abandonment. And the antidote to that isn't superhuman strength. It's radical honesty. It's waking up and saying, today I might not have all the answers, but I'm done running. It's acting even with trembling legs. It's doing what needs to be done, even knowing it might hurt. And above all, it's understanding that life won't wait for you to feel ready. It invites you to become someone ready through action. Do you want a fuller life? Then stop living halfway. Stop trading your truth for comfort. Stop hiding from yourself. Because every day you spend avoiding what's essential is one less day of wholeness. It's a day that won't return, a chapter written without soul. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a life lived with wholeness, with presence, with meaning. Don't wait any longer. Don't run anymore. Begin today. When things get tough, when the world seems to fall apart, when life enters shadowy zones, the question that echoes the loudest inside us is always the same. When will this get better? It's understandable. We are beings who seek relief. We want predictability. We want to breathe. But here's a truth that transforms if you're willing to hear it. The pain you feel now didn't come to be conquered by time. It came to invite you into a new identity. And as long as you keep asking, when will it pass, you'll remain a hostage to what happens outside. You'll keep waiting for the world to fix itself, for people to change, for circumstances to ease. But the real turning point happens when you change the question. Instead of, when will it get better? Ask, who am I becoming through this? That question doesn't relieve, but it awakens. It takes you out of the victim role and places you at the center of your own reconstruction. Because yes, you can go through this pain and become someone more bitter, more cynical, colder. Or you can go through it and become someone stronger, more clear-minded, more compassionate. Pain itself doesn't build character. It's your response to pain that does. And that response begins with your question. Every pain brings a crossroads. You either grow or you harden. You either heal or you shut down. You either mature or you hide behind excuses. And this is where many people fail, because they expect improvement to come from the outside, from a new job, a new relationship, a miracle. But real improvement is internal. It's subtle. It's when you start looking at the chaos and saying, I can't control this, but I can choose how I'll emerge from it. And then something changes. The pain is still there, but it becomes fuel. The fear remains, but now you use it as a compass, not a cage. The confusion exists, but you walk through it with purpose. And that's the point. You don't need to understand everything to transform. You just need to be willing to come out the other side different from who you were when it began. Because in the end, it's not what happens to you that defines your story. It's who you become in response to it. There's a quiet idea that slowly destroys our motivation, a disguised expectation that eats away at the soul. It's the idea that every day needs to be extraordinary, inspiring, productive, memorable. Wake up early, meditate, work out, eat healthy, be kind, solve everything, evolve spiritually, and still go to bed with gratitude in your heart. But what if I told you that's also a trap? That sometimes what you need most isn't a grand day. It's a real day. A day where you simply get up, even without motivation. A day where you do what's necessary, even without applause. A day where you choose what's right, even without feeling like it. These are the days that, when stacked, build who you are. Because deep down, true strength isn't found in extraordinary moments, but in the consistency of the ordinary with purpose. Life doesn't need to explode in fireworks to be going well. Sometimes a simple step taken with intention is worth more than a marathon driven by ego. You don't need to change the world today, but you can, yes, change the tone of your story with a single honest gesture. You can send that message you've been putting off. You can make that hard decision. You can start something small, but real. Because what's real always beats what's ideal. And the most powerful reality is one aligned with a deeper meaning. A meaning that doesn't come from I have to do this, but from this is why I'm doing it. You're not here to live perfect days. You're here to live days with soul. And if today you choose with humility to take one step with intention, with presence, with meaning, then today was a good day. And tomorrow? Tomorrow you do it again. Just like that. You've made it this far. Maybe listening to this in the car, in the kitchen, alone in your room, or simply in silence, searching for something that makes sense. And now comes the question that can change everything. Will you keep feeding the pain with excuses? Or will you choose the discipline of rebuilding yourself? Because yes, the pain shaped you, but it can no longer lead you. It was the fire. Now it's time to be the blacksmith. Most people will wait. Wait for clarity, for courage, for permission. But you are being called to act with intention. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down. No, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to refuse to keep living halfway. It's not about promising you'll never fail again. It's about deciding you won't retreat anymore. It's about looking at life and saying, I choose the path of truth, even if it's the hardest one. I choose the discomfort that sets me free, not the comfort that traps me. You're hearing this for a reason. This isn't chance. This is a calling. And the answer is in the step you take today. Are you ready? Then stop waiting. Start moving with purpose. When all of this ends, and it will end, when the lights go out, when the voices go silent, when there are no more applauses, demands, or promises, what will remain? What you built in the silence will remain. The story your name told day by day without an audience. Not what you had, but who you were. Not what they said about you, but what you upheld when no one was watching. And here's the truth that few have the courage to face. You are leaving a legacy, even now, the way you face this phase. The decisions you make when no one is looking. The faithfulness with which you treat yourself in the smallest choices. All of that is carving something eternal. And maybe you'll never get a medal for it. But you'll receive something greater. A life you can respect. An existence filled with meaning. A soul that wasn't sold for easy acceptance. So remember this. Whenever fear tries to take over, you're not here just to survive. You're here to leave a name that stands for integrity, for resilience, for purpose. The pain shaped you, yes, but purpose is what will define you. And it begins now.